Hey everybody, and welcome to the Gauntlet, where we go over everything esports news. I'm your host, Captain Zeus, followed by my lovely co-host, Nova Burst. I was like, he didn't say anything. What the heck? But today we're going to go over the results of Week 2 of the Overwatch League from Season 4 and our predictions for this upcoming week. Now, as I'm sure some of you noticed on their website, it does say to be determined on Sunday's matches. That is because that's basically the knockout round for the May Melee that will be happening next week. So after we go over this, go ahead and hear our predictions and let us know in the comments who you think is going to proceed to that tournament. But for the results, Paris did on Friday. Paris beat Vancouver 3-1. LA Gladiators beat London 3-0. Chengdu beat New York 3-0. And that was on Saturday actually. So we'll go over Friday. Yes. Friday matches I think was pretty expected. Nothing too crazy. Paris won, LA won. Kind of figured as much.
Yeah, pretty much is what we expected to come out. Yeah.
Starting off Saturday, as I mentioned earlier, Chengdu beat New York 3-0. Philly beat Hangzhou 3-1. Houston beat Paris 3-1. Boston lost to LA 3-0. Washington beat Dallas 3-1. Now we did have a couple of good matches in there. I'd like to say Chengdu, Houston, and the Washington matches were the really big ones on that day. Chengdu beating New York was honestly a huge surprise. I watched the match and Jinmu went ham, especially on Pharah. Jinmu went crazy, and that I didn't expect New York to lose that badly, to be honest.
Yeah, I honestly thought it was going to be a very close match. If not, I thought New York might have pulled the win. It was New York's first game of the season. With we had Chengdu, of course, the first week off having a fantastic week. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, it was up there that like we don't know what to expect, and obviously Chengdu came out showing that they are very serious this season.
They're
very serious. Very serious.
Houston up against Paris. For some reason, every time Houston's playing, even though it was a 3-1, it's always close at some point. Like, this Houston roster is probably their best to date. They have been dominant this season so far. Paris, yes, they lost, but they did have Houston on the ropes a couple of times. We put out highlight videos for it. It was 13 minutes of highlights that I found because this match was that juicy. Like, it was absolutely crazy. Happy went ham. Piggy went ham. Like, Jay Jagnew, like, that guy's Reinhardt is absolutely crazy. Like, Houston's just the dominant force in NA right now. Like, what the heck?
Yeah, I didn't know it was gonna come, but Houston is actually very scary right now. I would be a little nervous to go up against them, but yes, they do have a very stacked team at this moment that honestly most of us we didn't expect to be like this dominant, but they're showing us that they have it. They have it. Yeah,
I think Coach Burst from the Moon Base was saying that this is the roster he culminated since day one.
You know what I mean?
Like,
Coach Burst was putting in that work behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes, man.
For because he had to go through the struggles of Houston not doing so good,
sir.
And you see what happened.
All because of
Houston
Burst.
Kicking butt, man. We need to get Coach Burst back on here to talk about Houston's success so far.
We'll have Coach Burst during that May Melee section.
Yeah.
But then the Washington-Dallas match, which I was hoping was going to be a lot more hype than it was. I was hoping it was going to go Game 5, but Washington shut Dallas down real quick. And I was honestly surprised. Even though Dallas lost XZI, they still had a pretty stacked roster. And it's not like any of them were like getting absolutely destroyed. It was just Washington was the better team.
Yeah, honestly, Dallas has been having some really close losses. Like first week having to lose to Houston, stuff like that. You know what I mean? I feel like it's a really good team. They have the stuff, but they are just losing these really close games.
They're up against top teams, really.
You know what I mean? Yeah, and it's really hurting their record. Going into May Melee, they're gonna have to be now fighting these tougher teams when they go into May Melee. But I know Dallas has the stuff, man. Dang, not a good start. Just not a good start for them.
And then for Sunday, we did have Chengdu losing to Philly in a 3-1, Houston 3-0ing London, Dallas 3-0ing Boston, and then Washington 3-1ing Vancouver. Not that exciting matches. I was hoping Chengdu was at least going to take Philly to a game 5, to be honest. But Philly's been showing up as well this season. Houston, Dallas getting wins that they should be getting. No surprise there. And same thing with Washington. So day 3 wasn't that exciting, to be honest.
Yeah. We also had Hangzhou Spark versus New York. It was 3-1.
Oh yeah, I completely missed that one.
On that one, I did watch that one. I really feel like, okay, I'm a Spark boy. Okay, I really enjoy them. I like Spark in London.
Right.
But man, Spark, they have a good roster, man. It's pretty much the same team, just added a few things and stuff like that.
Right.
But I feel like Spark, they can do good this year. Just unfortunate that they had to fight against Philly and then New York.
Back to back. Yeah,
but yeah, I gave Spark like the benefit. I thought they would go to a game 5, but New York was like, nah, we can't lose again after losing to Chengdu.
He's that homie, don't play that.
Yeah, homie, don't play that. I would like to see a game 5, Chengdu Philly, of course, but Philly, hey, they didn't win last year, but they're coming for the crown this year, undefeated so far, so good on them.
I want to see them up against Houston, to be honest.
Oh yeah, that would be super exciting. That would be exciting right there. Houston 3-0ing London. Like we said, London, that they don't even have the same roster at the moment. They don't have that roster of rookies.
Nope.
All of them are gone. It's just a ragtag team now. So, but Houston basically free win there. Dallas, they got a free win as well up against Boston, and then Washington free win against Vancouver too. I mean, they took a map, but
yeah, I mean,
at the end of the day, get the dub.
Of life, but
Yeah.
Now for this week, for the qualifying matches or the remaining qualifying matches for the main melee, it's starting on Thursday. We have 2 matches going on, Paris versus Atlanta, and then Washington versus Boston. Paris should be able to win this one 3-1, to be honest. And then Washington should 3-0 Boston. I don't think those should be super crazy matches. Maybe Atlanta takes a map off of Paris, but I see Paris winning and Washington winning easily.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I had. 3-1 for Paris, and then Washington should just breeze through Boston, no problem.
And then Friday, we have a lot of matches going on there. LA Valiant versus Guangzhou, Seoul versus New York, Shanghai versus Hangzhou, Boston versus London, San Francisco versus Florida, and then Toronto versus Washington. So we got a lot of matches on Friday. For my predictions for it, I'm going to say Guangzhou's going to 3-1 Valiant, probably more 3-0, but I'm going to give Valiant the benefit of the doubt and go 3-1. I think New York will beat Seoul, but in a game 5, just because I think Seoul does have some life. When they were up against Philly, they were really putting, even though it was like a 3-1, 3-0 victory, they were really putting them to the test there. Shanghai should 3-1 Hangzhou. Possibly 3-0, but I see a 3-1 just because Hangzhou might come back a little bit angry from these losses.
Yeah.
London should 3-0 Boston. To be honest, I think Boston's still the bottom tier team in this season. San Francisco probably gonna go to a game 5 with Florida, but I'm gonna go with Florida winning this one only because I like this rematch from the previous tournament last year, so I think that'll be a pretty good one. And then Washington should be able to defeat Toronto. I'm gonna say 3-1.
Nice. I was definitely surprised about the Florida one right there.
I can't, you gotta spice things up a little bit.
Yeah, definitely, man. Let's see, for Guangzhou Charge, I'm pretty sure just a 3-0 on that part. Should just be an easy win for the Charge.
Yeah.
Seoul in New York, I agree. I would like to see it go to a game 5. I expect it to go to a game 5.
Right.
I do have Seoul taking that win though.
I like how I'm wearing the Seoul hoodie and you are typically like more the New York fan, and predictions are reversed.
It's just a vibe, man. It's just a vibe.
Just a vibe, yeah.
Let's see. I know, like I said, Spark Boy, but when you're going up against Shanghai, man, it's gonna be a tough game right there. But yes, I gave Shanghai 3-1. I'm just hoping, Spark can pull up from map.
Yeah.
Maybe a dub. I don't know.
Maybe they pull like a Gung Zhao last season and just put in the steroids and go ham.
Yeah, you know what I mean. But hey, just gotta keep my hopes up. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
I have London. Let's see. 3-2.
Really?
I think because like I said, this is a ragtag London team, but I still think they are better than this Boston roster at the moment. I don't think it's gonna be any like sweep or nothing like that, domination. So I think it will go to a 3-2, maybe a 3-1, going towards London. For the San Fran versus Florida, I do give respect to Florida. They're a pretty good team last year and this year, as we've seen. But I still think San Francisco, they're a little bit shooken up fighting against Houston, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they're still reeling back from that.
Yeah, but, there's still that San Francisco team, plus, all the added talent they added this year. So I still think San Fran's going to win it. I gave it a 3-1 for that one.
Okay.
And then Washington against Toronto should be an easy 3-0 for Washington.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Nice. And then for Saturday's matches, we have Seoul versus LA, Valiant, Gung Zhao versus Hung Zhao, Shanghai versus New York, Florida versus Paris, and London versus Toronto, and then San Francisco versus Atlanta. I'm going to go, Seoul's going to 3-0 LA.
Okay.
Gung Zhao probably 3-0ing Hung Zhao. Shanghai, New York, I'm going to say Game 5, Shanghai victory. Just because hype. Florida versus Paris, I think that one's also going to be a Game 5 in Florida's victory, but I can also see Paris taking the dub as well. Paris is a good team. They have a good roster this year. So I'm kind of excited to see what they do now. London versus Toronto, I'm going to say Toronto's going to win in a 3-1 fashion.
Okay.
And then San Francisco, Atlanta, I think that'll be a 3-0.
Okay. Some of them are different, a little different from me.
A little different.
Very interesting. Let's see. I do agree. Seoul versus Valiant, that should be easy cleanup for Seoul. So 3-0.
Sweeping that.
For Seoul. I think what'd you say? Gung Zhao 3-0 Spark?
Yeah.
I think. I actually have 3-2 for Spark winning against Gung Zhao. I haven't seen the same energy that they had from last year, and I really support this Spark roster they have. They have the talent. It's really good.
It's right there.
So I'm hoping they can get the win right there.
Okay.
Let's see. Shanghai versus New York. I have Shanghai winning 3-1. Last year, whenever New York went up against Shanghai, New York would get their butts handed
That's
to.
true.
So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Both of them, what's it called? Have both gotten their butts whooped by Chengdu this year, surprisingly. So maybe they'll share like a common enemy or something like that.
It's like, hey, you take the L, I'll go and avenge us both. Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Let's see. Florida versus Paris. I think I have Florida 3-1ing Paris.
Okay.
No disrespect to Paris, but I still I really do believe this Florida team is very good. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I don't feel like a lot of people are paying attention to them, of course. They're not like, oh my god, Shanghai, or oh my god, San Francisco. But
Houston.
Yeah, you know what I mean? But Florida, I think they're still there. Man.
Oh, yeah.
London versus Toronto. I have London winning actually. 3-1.
You're a London boy.
London boy. I don't know. Honestly, that game is kind of just up in the air. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because these teams aren't the hottest, but
No,
anyone could grab the win. I just have London grabbing it. Okay. And then San Fran against Atlanta. It's not the same Atlanta team. Even if they were the same team, I
Yeah.
think San Fran 3-0ing Atlanta.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, a little different predictions, but
Little different, little
more or
different.
less kind of around the same ballpark. And then Sunday, as I mentioned earlier, is going to be the knockout round for these teams. So anyone that didn't automatically qualify for the main melee will fight on Sunday to qualify for it. So that'll definitely be interesting. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 matches scheduled for that day to be determined. I'm excited for the main melee. I think these rosters for all of the teams are definitely amped up. A lot of things are shook from last season. Houston's on top. San Fran's not looking as hot as we thought. You know, Chengdu's looking amazing. Like, this is going to be an interesting tournament to say the least. So I'm honestly pretty excited for this tournament.
Dude, I am super excited for this tournament. Like you were saying, man, nothing is certain. You know what I mean? We went into the season thinking, oh, you know, these certain teams should have no problem.
Right.
Chengdu shook it up.
Chengdu
Houston shook everything up too.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
They shook up both of their regions like crazy.
Ooh, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm really excited. I'm really excited for this main melee.
Yeah, and you know, if you guys are excited, let us know in the comments below your predictions and how excited you are for these matchups to come. On our social media at Gauntlet News, we will be posting the official prediction list, so you can check that out too. And don't forget to check out all the highlights from the previous weeks. We'll have that somewhere on the screen. And you know, we'll try to get the highlights out for the main melee and for this week's matches as soon as we can. And yeah, I mean, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm Captain Zeus. That gentleman over there is Novaburst, and we will catch you guys in the next video. See ya.
See ya.